Many years ago in Lagos State, there lived a woman called Queen. She was a woman whose hearts carried both love and bitterness at the same time. She had two daughters, Blessing and Zara, who were born of two different fathers, but raised under the same roof where love was shared unevenly like food that could not go round. Blessing was the elder. She was quiet and had a kind heart. Her father died when she was just 4 years old, and her mother had slowly turned her pain into wickedness. After some years, Queen remarried, and that marriage gave birth to Zara, the beautiful, loud, and spoilt younger sister whose laughter always filled the compound while the elder sister worked endlessly in the background. The difference between the two girls was as clear as day and night. Blessing was soft-spoken and preferred to stay at the background, while Zara was bold, stubborn, and always eager to show that she was better. Queen adored her last child beyond reason. She gave her the best clothes, the biggest share of food, and the warmest praise, leaving Blessing to swallow the pain of being invisible. Blessing, Queen would say sharply, "Can't you be more like your sister? See how Zara shines? She's always neat and beautiful, while you just like carrying your face like an old woman." And Blessing, even though she was hurt, would only smile because she had long accepted her place in her mother's heart. She was used to being compared, blamed, or ignored, so she learned to keep quiet when it hurts. As they grew older, Zara's beauty became her pride and her weapon. She was tall and carried herself like a girl who believed the whole world existed to please her. She loved expensive things and never hid her desire to marry into wealth. Blessing, on the other hand, was content with her life at the moment, which was her teaching job at the primary school, her few church friends, and the peace that came from living simply. When Blessing met Johnson, her life changed. He was a calm, respectful, and hardworking man. He started off as a good friend. He would pick her up after work, bring her popcorn sometimes, and listen to her talk without interrupting. But when he came to see Queen for the first time, wearing a simple shirt and driving an old Toyota Camry, the woman's face felt like someone who had just seen bad news. "So this is the man?" she asked as she scanned Johnson from head to toe. "You mean to tell me that after all my suffering, this is the kind of person you bring home?" "Mummy, he's a good man," Blessing explained. "And he loves me." Queen hissed, "Love does not cook soup. Does love pay rents? My friend, you better marry sense and not love." Unfortunately, from that day, Zara mocked her endlessly. "Sister Blessing, so this is your husband. He looks like someone's driver. I hope he will be able to buy you a new dress at least once a year." But Blessing said nothing because she had learned that silence sometimes hurts proud people more than arguments. When their wedding came, Blessing insisted on a small ceremony. The church hall was decorated with white and blue ribbons, and the guests were mostly friends from Blessing's church and Johnson's family. Queen came late wearing a frown. Zara too came dressed in a pink lace. She planned to steal attention as if it were her own day. They sat together and gossiped that Blessing married a poor man. They said Johnson's shoe looks cheap and that even the wedding car had rust on its door. But Blessing smiled through the gossip and walked down the aisle with peace in her heart, because for her, love was not about display, but about safety, and Johnson gave her that. After marriage, she and Johnson moved into a two-bedroom apartment on the mainland. Life was simple but peaceful. Johnson was a tech expert, and he worked long hours on his laptop on coding and decoding, while Blessing went on to apply at a private school as a teacher because she believed that was where her purpose lied. Then, after almost 5 years, an unexpected news came, and that changed everything. One Thursday afternoon, Blessing came home from work with a shiny golden envelope that had been sent to her school address. It smelled of perfume and pride. She opened it slowly, but she already guessed where it came from. Inside was an invitation card embossed with gold letters. "You are cordially invited to the wedding ceremony of Miss Zara and Mr. Williams, the union of wealth and love." And below, in smaller handwriting, was a personal note that twisted the knife deeper into her heart. "Dear Sister Blessing, please come early. I would love you to see what a real wedding looks like." Blessing stood still for a long time with a letter trembling in her hand. She felt this pain in her chest spreading slowly like fire. So after all these years, it was still about who was better. When Johnson came in that evening, she showed it to him quietly. He read it, smiled, and then looked at her. "Are you going?" Blessing shrugged. "I don't know. I feel like if I go, she'll find a way to humiliate me again. But if I don't go, she will say I am jealous." Johnson walked closer and took her hand. "Then go. You don't need to hide from anyone again. You are not small yourself. and it made her smile, but there was sadness in her eyes. You don't understand. My mother will be there. She would brag and they will laugh. They will call you names and will be forced to start proving things. I don't want that. Johnson kissed her hand gently. Let them. A person's mouth does not change the truth. I will go with you, and this time around will silence them. The wedding day eventually came, and it was bright and hot as if the sun had come to bear witness. The streets danced with excitement. William's name was on everyone's lips. The rich man marrying Queen's daughter. The wedding hall center glittered like a palace. Expensive cars filled the parking lot, and photographers moved around snapping pictures of lace and pride. Every guest was talking about Queen's daughter who had caught a big fish. Oh my God, they look so good together. That man is fine. One woman whispered loudly. Another one replied, money is showing on his body, my friend. This wedding will reach page 3 of Daily Trust newspaper. Queen stood at the entrance glowing in gold lace and greeting guests with a loud voice. You know my daughter, right? She's marrying a real man, a rich man. God has shamed my enemies and wiped my tears. My Zara is not marrying anyhow, man. She had no reservations at all, only satisfaction. And when someone even asked about blessing, she smiled wickedly and said, she's coming now. I hope her husband will find where to park that his old Camry. And then 30 minutes later, the sound of a car horn silenced the crowd. Everyone turned and froze as they saw a sleek, white Bentley rolled into the compound. It was the kind of car that made people stop breathing for a moment. It moved gracefully like power disguised as beauty. The security men straightened immediately. People craned their necks and began to speculate. Wow, who came with Bentley? Is it another big man? Someone shouted, no, look very well. It is Blessing, the elder sister that married a poor man. Another guest answered. The car door opened and Blessing stepped out in a long purple gown that shimmered like water. Her husband Johnson came out from the other side looking calm and graceful in a dark suit. He walked round to hold her hand and then led her like a man used to respect. For a second, the whole guest froze. Even those inside the hall had to run outside to catch the view. Then their gossip began again, thick and fast. I thought they said her husband was broke. Someone said, maybe they borrowed the car. Another one replied, it must be borrowed now. She and her husband want to impress her sister Small. After the wedding, they will return the motor to the owner. When Zara, the bride, a black female, a tall, beautiful, and proud young woman in her mid-20s with a confident posture wearing a showy pink lace dress, marriage to a rich man in a filled-up church, saw them, she froze for a moment. She couldn't breathe. Her mother, a black woman, a middle-aged woman with a stern expression and regal posture, wearing an elaborate and expensive-looking gold lace traditional Nigerian outfit, too blinked rapidly, unable to hide her shock. But Zara quickly recovered from her shock. She tossed her hair back and laughed mockingly. Oh my God, so she borrowed a Bentley just to impress me. My sister can overdo. I heard her husband works as a driver. It must be his boss's car. Her laughter drew the attention of people nearby. Yet she went on louder. Anyway, it is still better than that old Toyota Camry. Queen, a black woman, a middle-aged woman with a stern expression and regal posture, wearing an elaborate and expensive-looking gold lace traditional Nigerian outfit, joined in. At least the man finally drove something better than that his rusty Camry. God has done it for them. Just make sure you don't scratch your boss's car, because we will not contribute any money for you. However, Williams, a black male, a wealthy-looking, handsome man in his 30s with a polished appearance, wearing an impeccably tailored, luxurious wedding suit. The groom had gone completely quiet. The moment he saw Johnson, a black male, a calm, handsome man in his early 30s with a well-groomed beard wearing a tailored dark suit and a confident expression, looking dapper in his suit, takes a black female, Blessing, a young woman in her late 20s with a kind, gentle face and simple hairstyle wearing a long, shimmering purple gown, hand. He gently leads his wife, who is radiant in her purple gown, through the stunned crowd. His eyes widened and his throat felt dry. He swallowed hard. He grabbed Zara's hands and stammered, wait a moment. That man, that is my boss. Zara frowned in confusion. You're what? That is my boss. He repeated in horror. That is Mr. Johnson, Peter, the CEO of John Tech, the owner of the company I work for. Zara's laughter dried up completely. Stop joking. You mean your CEO is my sister's poor husband? Yes, Williams said shakily. The same man, the one who signs my salary. Zara blinked in total confusion. That is impossible. You said your CEO travels with police escorts and has 3 cars. Williams lowered his voice. He's a quiet man. He never shows off. But that is him. Oh God, that is him. On hearing that, Zara bust out into more laughter. She pointed at Johnson up and down as if he was trash. You must be blind because this poor man here can never. Before she could finish, William turned and shouted, "Keep quiet," and gave her a sharp slap across her cheek. The sound echoed through the microphone like thunder. Keep quiet before you destroy me. You have no idea what you've just said. Everyone around them froze. The groom slapped the bride, someone shouted, another one said it's because of the Bentley drama. Zara was speechless. She held her cheek in shock. Queen gasped and left her mouth hanging wide open. In that moment, Blessing and Johnson walked into the hall silently and took their seats. Their presence commanded more respect than any speech could ever. The MC tried to save the mood by cracking a joke. It's just a small family misunderstanding. There's no problem. But the damage was done. The bride went in with shame, while the groom's face remained permanently strong like a stone. As for Blessing, she sat quietly beside her husband. Her eyes were calm but deep, and she smiled to herself. Every day is not for forgiveness. Some days are for justice. When it was time for the toast, Johnson stood and asked for the microphone in place of his wife, the sister to the bride. His voice was smooth and low, but it carried power that filled the hall. Good day, everyone. Congratulations to Williams and Zara. Well, contrary to what you might think, my wife did not come here to take a trophy, and I did not come here to judge. We came because we were invited as family. But since we are all here and we were judged even before we stepped in, I would like to say something about pride and humility. Silence fell, and Williams almost peed on himself. Johnson continued, I am the CEO of John Tech, a company I had been secretly working on before I got married to my wife. And if there is one thing I built my company on, it is humility. Now there is a tradition we have in my company, an act of humility we call service and character. We believe everyone, no matter their position, should understand the dignity in service. So today, in honor of family, and to remind us that pride must always bow to grace, I will offer that same lesson to my dear staff, Mr. Williams. The hall went still again. Williams' mouth fell open. Yes, sir. Johnson's voice remained steady. For 6 months starting next week, you will serve in our company's outreach department as a driver. Your salary and position will remain, but your duty will be service to learn what respect truly means. It is not punishment. It is education. The guest gasps collectively. A man at the back whispered, driver, at his own wedding. Ah, this is interesting. The MC dropped his microphone and stared. Queen's fan fell from her hand. Zara jumped up and shouted, You can't humiliate my husband like that. Not today. This is my wedding day. Blessing rose and faced her. My dear sister, no one is being humiliated. Your husband will still keep his full salary, but he will learn what it means to serve. For years, you both laughed at people who had less. Maybe this lesson will remind you that no one is too high to bend. One guest near the stage laughed until she nearly choked. Ah, this one is premium revenge in designer dress. Zara pointed at Blessing angrily. You came here to disgrace me. But Blessing replied calmly. No, I came here because you invited me. You wanted me to see what a real wedding looks like. Well, I have seen it, and I think I should also teach you something real. Williams clenched his fist, breathing hard. He looked at his wife, then at his boss, then at the crowd watching like an audience waiting for a verdict. Finally, he sighed. If this is the lesson, then I accept. What? Zara screamed. William, you can't. William looked at her with tired eyes. Enough. Let this end here. I can't lose my job. I agreed to their condition. The crowd burst into shock. Some people clapped in admiration, while others laughed. See how humble he now looks. It is better than pretending to a big man. One man said 6 months driver training would not kill him. Another one replied. Zara wanted to run away, to collapse, and to scrub her face clean of that public shame. But it was too late. As for Queen, her pride twisted her face and burned her. The wedding went on in an uneven rhythm, and people talked in corners about the unusual vow that had been made, and how the bride, who had planned to humiliate, had been served a bitter tea. The first morning, after the wedding, felt as if every street in Lagos had been renamed by the new gossip. The story of the wedding, where the groom became a driver, turned into hot cake. It was everywhere, on social media, in markets, even on radio gossip shows. Did you hear the bride's brother-in-law made the groom his company's driver? One woman laughed as she bought tomatoes. She was taught a bitter lesson. Another once said, "If you mock people, make sure your mouth has insurance." True to his word, Williams reported to the outreach office the next Monday morning. He wore a simple shirt and trousers. The staff greeted him with respect, but some couldn't hide their amusement. "Mr. Driver, good morning," one of them teased. Williams smiled and bowed. "Morning. Let's do work." And just like that, every day for 6 months, he drove the staff whenever they needed to go out for duty's sake. He drove even the lowest staff and learned how to wait in the sun without complaint. His salary never dropped. But his heart changed as he began to understand that dignity had nothing to do with cars or clothes. Meanwhile, Zara struggled to show her face in public. At first, she refused to visit her husband's office. Then she avoided church. Then she stopped picking calls from friends who only wanted to hear the story again. But even at home, she grew quiet as pride had left her without permission. Until one morning when she asked to meet Blessing at their family's house. After Queen reconciled with Blessing, Zara fell to her knees. "Sister, I am sorry. I mocked you. I mocked your husband. I thought I was always the better one. But I see now I was the foolish one." Blessing looked at her long and steady. "I did not do it to destroy you that day. I only did it to remind you that the people you step on today might be the same ones you will bow to tomorrow. Every day is not for forgiveness. Some days are for correction." Zara nodded amidst tears. "Will he ever get his respect back? That depends on how you both live after this." Blessing replied. Weeks later, when the 6 months ended, Johnson called Williams to his office. "You've done well," he said. "You've learned something money couldn't teach. Now you can go back to your department as a better man and with an increase." He smiled and bowed his head. "Thank you, sir. I will never forget this lesson." That weekend, he and Zara visited Blessing and her husband at home. And for the first time, the two sisters hugged each other fully from a place of broken pride and reborn respects. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about this story with me in the comment section. What lesson did you learn from this story? Share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. Thank you and remain blessed.